Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make spaghetti squash in the Instant Pot. Hi, I'm Karen Peterson and I own the blog 365daysofcrockpot.com where I share Instant Pot and slow cooker recipes for every single day of the year. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make spaghetti squash in your Instant Pot. This is by far the fastest way I have found to cook a spaghetti squash. Spaghetti squash just looks like this, and it is a low-cal option for those of you who are trying to cut calories, or even if you're trying to cut carbs. Instead of using pasta, you can use this spaghetti squash. And if you've never had it, I really hope that you try it soon because it has become one of my family favorites. And today I'll show you how to make mac and cheese spaghetti squash too, if you're more of a creamy type person. So let's get going. I'm going to show you how to make this squash. I have a 6-quart Instant Pot that I'm using, and I bought a fairly small spaghetti squash. Sometimes those spaghetti squashes can be very large, so you just want to make sure that it will be small enough to be able to fit inside of your Instant Pot. So that's the first thing, is picking out the right size. Second, have a paring knife ready to go. I like to use this little tiny knife sharpener before I cut the squash, just because it is a thick skin to get through, so I like to have a sharp knife ready. So I just go ahead and sharpen it a few times before I cut. If you want this little tiny gadget, you can get them on Amazon, and I will link to it in the notes below. Most of the time when you see recipes, they say to cut the squash this way, but today we're cutting it this way. And I find that you get longer strands of spaghetti squash that way, and it fits nicer into your Instant Pot. So we're gonna cut it around the equator, I guess you could say. Just be careful that you have a good handle on the squash so it doesn't go flying. But you're gonna just kind of cut as best as you can through that tough skin. Once you get through, you're gonna see a bunch of gunk inside. You're gonna wanna remove that. It's kind of like the guts of a pumpkin. I like to use my ice cream scoop because it has these kind of sharp edges, and you can just really dig in there and get it all out. You can also use just a regular spoon to kind of scrape the edges. So it should look nice and clean, just like that when you're done. Go ahead and do the other side. I have both halves ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I put a trivet in the bottom of my Instant Pot. If you don't have one, you can get one on Amazon. I'll link to it. Then I'm going to add in a cup of water. If you're using an 8-quart pot, go ahead and use about 2 cups of water just so that it can come to pressure. And then we're going to put these in here, and depending on the size of your squash, you might have to angle it to fit in. This one was small enough that it really fit in there very nicely. You can see that that's no problem at all. And cover your pot. Make sure the valve is set to sealing and not to venting. Go ahead and push the manual button or the pressure cook button and change it to 7 minutes. Once the time is up, it will switch over to L, and then it will say 000. That just means lapse time. So go ahead and move the valve from sealing to venting. Once all the pressure is released, you can go ahead and open up the pot. Spaghetti squash inside is going to be really hot, so go ahead and just either wait till it cools down, or you can use some sort of tongs to remove it. And sometimes if it's filled up with a little bit of water, so just dump the water out and go ahead and place it on a cutting board. And then I'm just going to set this aside until it cools down a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and shred it. Now while that's cooling down, I'm going to make the cheese sauce for the mac and cheese. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to turn this off. I'm going to empty this out and just give it a quick rinse. I'm going to go ahead and set this to saute setting, and I'm just going to adjust it so that it's on the middle one. So it's less, normal, more. So I'm going to put it on the normal one, right in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to start with a ½ teaspoon of salt. If your spaghetti squash is bigger, you might need more, but you can always add more later. You can't take it away, so I just go ahead and add ½ teaspoon of salt. I like to use kosher salt. half a teaspoon of black pepper, and then a full teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm just gonna stir that a little bit. The butter should be melting. While the butter's melting, I'm gonna go ahead and shred my spaghetti squash. So I'm gonna set that to the side. So this is what it looks like cooked. You just grab a fork and you're just gonna kind of go like this and see how easily that comes out. It's still a little bit hot, so I'm gonna put one of these oven mitts on to kind of hold it in place, but you should be able to scrape it completely clean. It just comes out very nicely in the Instant Pot. It just cooks it all the way through and you can use all that awesomeness. Once the butter's melted in this Instant Pot, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn it to the keep warm setting. So I pretty much scrape that completely clean. And then I'm gonna add this to the Instant Pot because I'm gonna make the mac and cheese out of it. Okay, it looks like I got out all the flesh from both of these, so I'm just gonna discard those. And then I'll throw this into the pot as well. Coat the spaghetti squash, and then I'm gonna add in cheese. I'm adding in a 1 3/4 cup of cheddar, a 1/4 cup of Parmesan, and I grated this myself because I like the way it melts better than when you have the powder coated pre-grated stuff. So I'm gonna add that in. And I like to use a sharp cheddar or a medium cheddar. It gives it a lot of flavor. Mild cheddar just doesn't do it for me. And then we also have Parmesan cheese that I'm gonna add in. That's a 1/2 cup. And just stir that in. And the spaghetti squash is so hot that it's gonna melt the cheese. We don't even need to put this on the saute mode. It's gonna get nice and cheesy and creamy and melty. After all the cheese is melted, this is what it's gonna look like. And it just tastes absolutely amazing. It's perfectly seasoned, it's cheesy, it's delicious, and it's gotta be low carb because of the spaghetti squash. So, amazing.